Welcome to Mental Health Dumpster Fire. Woo. My name is Courtney Lawver, licensed clinical social worker.
And I am Jess Miller, art therapist.
We are two therapists with opinions on everything, and we are here to share them with you. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. I am Lawver Listens on Instagram and Facebook.
And I am the Artsy Brain on Instagram and Facebook.
And our disclaimer is that this podcast is for entertainment and education purposes only. It is not a replacement for therapy, and we cannot give you specific advice or clinical services via this podcast or our social media. And that's it. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I am okay. My voice is recovering from seeing Chappell Roan this weekend.
I'm so jealous. When they announced that she was going to play at Pride, I had already made plans to go out of town, and I was like, and I kept watching the videos while I was gone too, and I was just like, I'm so mad at myself. It was
so good. That's the last time you're ever going to be able to see her for $10.
Oh, no, she has blown up. She is making it big, and good for her. But I'm never going to have that chance again.
No, it was kind of scary because there was like 25,000 people at the park and on the bridge and everything, but It was really cool. I didn't really get to see her.
Yeah. But the crowd, the vibe of the crowd is good for that kind of show.
The experience was awesome, and now I can say that I've seen her live, and that's the last time you're going to be able to see her before she starts selling out arenas.
Oh, yeah,
so
jealous.
Yeah.
So much fun, though.
Mm-hmm. It was exciting. Yeah. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so I have some more Reddit stories again.
Cool.
I have like a bunch because some of them are short but have like a lot of comments underneath of them. And then some of them are a little longer. Let's see. One is about, can you feel the love of your kids? One is about gender and sexual identity for a preteen. One is asking, do children own their toys? And then one is about, I want to play with my kid, but I hate it. Which I thought that was kind of funny.
Okay. I like the gender one and the one about I hate playing with my kids because I have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I thought the gender one was appropriate too because as we're recording, it is Pride Month. So
yeah, hopefully, I mean, we're halfway through. I don't know if you're going to get this episode before you go to Pride Month. But
honestly, Pride is all year long, you guys.
Yeah, be proud.
We exist all year, not just in June. So yeah, do you want to do the sexuality, gender identity, or the play?
Let's start with the gender one.
Okay, that one's probably gonna be a longer post.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Okay, 11-year-old daughter shared that they think they have a crush on a girl who happens to be their best friend, and their birth gender is female. And they also have a reciprocal crush on my kid, so they are kind of a thing. They're 11. My kid was very comfortable, she, her, until recently when she started hanging out with this friend and decided she was they, them, and gender is a social construct. We tried to be gender neutral, but they have always gravitated towards girly things, in quotations, girly, American Girl dolls, pink Legos, princess dresses, jewelries, etc. Until recently, there has been no tomboyness about them. Now they are choosing to wear more gender-neutral clothes, which is great and welcome. They are spending a lot of times reading about trans and gender identity. I cannot help but wonder if this is mostly, if not all, peer influence. The school is ultra-liberal, and most of the middle schoolers wanting to be and choosing to be LGBTQ+, or non-binary, or both. I would say 6 out of 10 kids at this middle school are LGBTQ+, or non-binary, or both. They spend a lot of time with this non-binary friend / romantic interest at the exclusion of other friends. I am bi myself, bi as in B-I, bi, not alone. And I find myself lost and unsure about this development. I'm supportive, but I can't help but feel that my kid is being indoctrinated / heavily influenced by peers in school. The other day, we were having a conversation about inclusiveness, and they said cisgender straight people don't need to be included because they are the norm. We delved a bit into the cisgender straight allies. And then the last sentence is, I guess I'm just doubting my parenting.
Okay. Well, personally, I think this parent is doing everything right.
Mm-hmm.
Discovering your identity is a confusing thing, and it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that it's happening earlier for kids because they have so much access to the world now.
Yeah.
Whereas, when we were growing up, we had our neighborhood and the places that our parents let us go.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really have access to like a broad arrangement. I don't know if that's the right word, of people.
Variety, diversity.
Unless we were taken around those groups.
Yeah.
And some of us were and some of us weren't.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know like the research off the top of my head, but I don't see anything wrong with kids experimenting and like figuring out their identity.
Yeah.
Like 11 is about the time developmentally when you would start entering that preteen teenager phase.
Mm-hmm.
And that stage of development is all about finding your identity and figuring out who you want to be. So, and it's the time when peers start to become more important than your parents.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it is peer driven, like, or peer influenced, I didn't love the word indoctrinated because that seems...
It's a really strong word.
It's got a negative connotation to it, and I'm
yeah.
not really sure, like, can an 11-year-old indoctrinate another 11-year-old?
I don't know if an 11-year-old knows what that word means either. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like even if it is a peer influence, like, well, my friend is non-binary, so I want to be non-binary, or my friend is queer, so I want to try being queer.
Yeah.
I don't really see a problem with that.
I don't either.
It's not like they can't discover themselves again.
Yeah.
And, like, there are plenty of people who don't figure out that they're queer until they're either in their 30s.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with, like, when you decide who you are, and you have to try things out before you decide if you are actually that identity or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really feel like there's anything wrong with them trying on an identity, especially if they're in a school that's going to accept them.
Right. Yeah. And it sounds like that's kind of almost the norm at this school, too. And so, like, they're in a safe environment, which I think is important, too. Like, they feel safe to try out these different identities to see what feels like fits them best.
Yeah.
Versus, like, some kids don't have that. And that's why there's people who come out in adulthood as queer.
Right.
So the fact that the kid feels safe enough and comfortable enough to, like, try out these different identities and labels and see what fits them, that's a good sign. That's a green flag. Like,
right.
They feel safe.
And this child feels comfortable enough with their parent to have an open conversation with them, to say, like, hey, I'm questioning my identity and here's what I would like to try out. And their parent has been really receptive to that, and that's awesome. And they were able to kind of bring in that conversation of some more maybe liberally extreme topics of cis people aren't allowed here or whatever it was.
It was a long,
and then the parent was able to say, well, let's have a conversation about that, because inclusion means inclusion. It doesn't mean excluding the majority.
The kid said cisgender straight people don't need to be included because they are the norm. And I mean, I get it, but
well, included
also,
like in everything? Like, what did
I'm assuming in the conversation of being queer or being LGBTQ+.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which,
so then you have a
yeah.
conversation about what's the difference between gender identity and sexual identity.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's great that the parent was open to having that conversation with them. I feel like that's the most important thing about any parent-child relationship is as they grow up, giving them the opportunity to bring things and have an open conversation, like instead of having like the sex talk one time with your kid and just being like, here's where babies come from. Like, have it be an open conversation so that when they hear things that are incorrect from their peers, they can come back and like ask you a question and it just be a topic of conversation when they need it.
Right.
And I think it can be the same with identity questions. And it's not going to hurt your child to accept them even if you don't think it's going to stay that way.
Right.
I know that there are a lot of people out there who worry that, well, if I give in and say, okay, I'll call you by these new pronouns, that means that they are enabling like a wrong decision or something. And I don't really want to get into like what's right and wrong or true or false or whatever, but like being supportive of your kid is not going to hurt your kid.
Yeah.
Just like if well, it's not like this at all, but like if they choose to be a ballerina and then later decide they want to play football, like they're not a different kid.
Right. They might not have realized that was an option.
Yeah.
Too. They were like, oh, that's an option. I can do that. Oh, let me try it on and see how this feels.
Yeah.
It's if you don't,
and
if
this
you
is the
limit
age
that,
to do that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in an environment that's open to allowing you to do that. It's much easier to try on different identities and see what feels correct to you when you're 11 than it is when you're in your 20s and then you have tons of different people around you and you're at work and it's hard to, I don't know, get the legal documents that you need or like even just like have conversations with other adults at lunch and be like, just a reminder for the 30th time I go by they them. Like,
I didn't before I worked here, but I do now.
Yeah.
Totally valid. You can do that. But it is a lot harder as an adult to do that than as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, even if like this parent is saying like they're not sure that they're going to continue to be non-binary or queer or whatever as they grow up. Okay.
That's fine.
So what?
They can change their mind.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
If someone wants to go by different pronouns or they learn more about their sexuality and find something that fits them better, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
And to people who maybe don't have all the information, just because your kid wants to go by different pronouns doesn't mean you have to give them surgery or whatever. Like,
right, yeah.
Calling them by a different name is not going to kill you.
Like, nope. No. It'll take a little bit of time to get used to for sure, but also it's not that hard at the same time.
Right. And you'll still have a relationship with your kid as an adult.
And it'll probably be better. If you accept them and use the pronouns and names that they tell you to use, you're going to have a stronger relationship because they feel accepted and comfortable and like you respect them.
Yeah. Yeah. There are no more queer and trans and non-binary people in the world today than there used to be. They're just more accepted now.
Yes.
And that's a good thing.
Right. And that's why we're seeing so many kids who are like coming out. Is it even coming out? They're just like, oh, actually, Mom, I go by they, them. Or actually, Mom, I am gay.
Right.
Kids are able to do that now because it's like we're having more conversations about it, first of all. And they're safer now than they were before to do that.
Yeah. And wouldn't it be nice if people didn't have to come out? If they could just be who they are and just be accepted that way?
Right. And also, just a reminder for everybody, you don't have to have a label either. you can just be who you be.
It's true.
Like, if questioning is also a totally valid, I didn't mean to do that unvalid, but valid label.
Right.
Questioning is fine.
Yeah.
You can be that for the rest of your life if you want to. It's totally fine. Don't need to have a label or a name for who you are.
Yep. Yeah, I know it's tricky and you want to do right by your kid, which, that's why I feel like you're doing everything right. Even by questioning it, you're still doing the right thing by being there for your kid. And I feel like this is the kind of parent that's going to be there regardless.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think part of their discomfort maybe is because they themselves just don't know a whole lot. Like they said that they're like, oh, I'm bisexual, but I also don't know a whole lot about gender identity and stuff like that.
Which is different.
Yeah, you can tell your kid like, oh, I don't know how a lot about this stuff, but let's learn about it together. Or maybe if we know someone who is queer, let's talk to them about it and see if they can help us.
Yeah.
Like you can tell your kid that you don't know the answer to a question. That's totally fine.
Yeah. And they said that the kid is doing a lot of research on their own, which I think is really great. I think as a parent, you can help direct them to legitimate places to find that information.
Yeah.
So it's not just from their friends or from TikTok. Giving them actual authors or books or articles that they can look into to get factual information.
Yeah. There's lots of resources out there for sure for that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, and there's resources for parents. So
yeah.
The parent could look into that as well. Because
my favorite resource to recommend to people is the Trevor Project. I'm sure like pretty much everyone has heard about Trevor Project.
Yeah.
But they have really good educational resources and like will point you in the right direction to other organizations in your area too, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that even if they grow up and decide that they are not non-binary or they are a cisgender heterosexual person, going through this experience will at least give them empathy for people who have gone through the experience and figured out that they are a minority. So at least them trying on these different hats and discovering what they like and don't like is giving them a window into different people's worlds.
Yeah, that's a good perspective to have too. Yeah, if they choose to not choose, if they realize that that's not who they are, and are like the cisgender hetero, that's who they are. They had that experience of being around other queer people and stuff like that too. Yeah, like just being just a little bit part of that culture for a minute can really open up people's eyes and provide some really needed experience and perspective that will help them later in life.
Yep, I agree.
There's lots of different moving parts, and it's hard to kind of like pull them apart one at a time to look at it as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a balance of, are you there to support and learn and appreciate, or are you there to make it about yourself? And how, because like an ally is great, but like you don't have to go to a drag show and be the one that's like up in the drag queen's face and like give me all the attention. Like, no, this is not for you.
Right.
Sit down. Let everybody else enjoy the show as well.
Yeah.
Or, if you're going to Juneteenth, like go and support Black-owned businesses. But don't walk around and say, make comments about like, I know I'm white and here's all the bad things that white people have done. It's like, yeah, no, we know. That's why we have the celebration.
Yeah. That's why we have this.
Yeah. So I think there's a difference between supporting and almost like appropriating.
Yeah, it's like that borderline almost appropriating that culture for yourself.
Yeah.
That like either the like queer culture or Black culture for yourself. It's like you're like really towing the line, making it uncomfortable for the people who are a part of that culture that are there watching you do that.
Yeah. And I think it's totally valid for people who belong to those communities to be uncomfortable with people who don't belong in those communities to be there based on their past experiences or whatever. So I think just like being aware of your surroundings, and if somebody seems uncomfortable, you head on to a different part of the festival, or maybe go home or whatever. But like, just be aware of how everybody is perceiving you, and like, be nice.
Yeah.
Especially if that's the reason you're going, is to try to learn or just be appreciative or show support or whatever. Like, okay, if you're gonna be supportive, then you need to listen to how people want to be supported.
Yes. It has kind of like the vibe of like when you throw a birthday party when you're a kid, and there's like that one kid that got invited to your birthday party that you're like kind of okay with, and then they come and just like steal the show of your birthday party.
Yeah, or they're like, why didn't I get any presents? It's like,
it's not your birthday.
Your birthday's in 6 months.
Yeah.
And like, you have a day.
Yeah.
Like,
also, I only invited you because you're in my class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's exactly like that. It's like,
that's the vibe and energy.
Right.
That
and I know
feel.
it's uncomfortable to not be the center of attention when you are the center of attention all the time because you're white and straight or whatever. But like, you can take a break.
Yeah. You don't have to be in the middle of everything.
Right.
You can like take a back seat or like,
and you
drive
can be
out of here.
A quiet supporter and not make it about yourself and be like superior because, oh, I don't belong to this community, but I support it, and give me praise because I support it. Like, okay, you could just support it and not expect validation for that.
That's always something that's bothered me. It's like people who are like, oh, I'm an ally, and they're like really loud about it. And it's not that the things they're saying are wrong necessarily. It's just that they're taking up the time and the airtime that someone who is part of that community could just speak for themselves and also probably be more accurate anyways.
Right.
Than an ally would.
Yeah.
That's always been like one of those icks, like pet peeves of like an ally who's a little too loud. No, thank you.
Yeah. But I don't mind, like at Pride, like if you are a bisexual woman and you're in a straight appearing relationship with a straight man,
you're still
like, he can come to Pride and like be supportive even though he's not by himself.
He's
like,
still in a queer relationship. Yeah. And it's like he's like part of the community by proxy kind of a thing.
Right. And if you want to hang out with your boyfriend even though he's not gay, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a free country.
Yeah. It's fine.
If he has $10 to pay to see Chappell Roan and he wants to see Chappell Roan, he should be able to.
Yeah. He should want to.
Yeah. He should support Chappell Roan.
Anyone out there who is straight and dating a queer person and the queer person says, I want to go see Chappell Roan, you better be buying them tickets.
Oh, yeah. You should buy the tickets.
This episode is brought to you by...
Oh, I wish.
Not really. Chappell Roan, we do love you, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Be our friend.
Okay, what's the next one?
Okay. This one is, I want to play with my kid, but I hate it? ? When my kid says, I want to spend time with you, or please play with me, or the ultimate horror, let's do arts and crafts together, I just want to run. But the fear that these requests for time together won't always be made makes me keep trying. But it's painfully boring. I agree. It's so funny. I agreed to an arts and crafts session for this week, and I am dreading it. Sometimes I think I make things difficult by overthinking it. I could just let them take the lead and sit back and take direction, but I feel like this makes me seem uninterested. Anyway, for those of you who enjoy doing this kind of stuff with your kids, please help with tips and advice.
I love it. I hear this all the time. Because I am trained in parent-child interaction therapy.
That's right.
And that is all about playing with your kids as the therapy.
Do you want to give a quick spiel about what that is for people who don't know?
Yeah, so parent-child interaction therapy, PCIT, is for families with kids ages 2 to 7. And it's designed for kids who are having like behavioral problems. So tantrums, dawdling, talking back, just not following directions. Did I already say tantrums?
Yeah, those are big though, so you can say them twice.
Yeah. And it's a family play therapy. So I teach the parents play therapy concepts that they then practice every day at home. And then when they come to sessions, I coach them through it so that they understand the skills better. And through playing with their kids and doing some behavioral modification things, the kids' behaviors get better and they're building attachment with their parents because they're having intentional playtime every day.
That's huge.
But I do get a lot of parents who are like, I don't like playing with my kid because I'm an adult and they're 3 and I don't want to play what they play. And like, fair, but no. You have to.
You do.
And I think, this parent said the same thing. They were like, I'm afraid that they're gonna stop asking eventually, as they get older or whatever. So here's my tips. There are, maybe I'm just juvenile and I do this for a living, so I like playing with kids. But there are a lot of toys and crafts and science projects that are like legitimately cool and like actually fun. And like, if I had the time, would sit and play with them by myself.
Yeah.
So look around for things that you would enjoy that are also age appropriate for your kids.
Okay, yeah.
And then maybe they'll like that and they'll want to play with it. You don't have to say like, hey, I got this and I think it's cool, because then, that might backfire. But if you just put it out there, they might be like, what's this? This is a cool new thing. And you can say, oh, yeah, I don't know. You want to try it? And then now you're playing with something that you want to play with, but they also want to play with it, and you're playing together. The other thing is enjoy the time rather than like focusing on the activity. So maybe you're not having a super fun time playing with Barbies, but you enjoy that you're playing with your kid. And you can point that out to them, and you can say, I have a lot of fun playing with you. And that, is reinforcing the relationship, and also pointing out to yourself, like, sometimes you need to say it out loud. Like, yeah, I enjoy spending time with my kid, and it doesn't really matter what we're doing. I'm enjoying spending time with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe this wouldn't fly if you were doing PCIT, but like, can you pick a similar adultier activity that you can do next to them? Like if they want to...
Yeah, like parallel play.
Right. If they want to color in their coloring book, can you color in an adult coloring book?
Yeah,
But it's like parallel play, but you're still kind of doing the same thing. So if they are building blocks, then you can try to challenge yourself to build a different tower. I don't know.
One of those like Lego things, flower things or whatever.
Yeah. And that's even something that like
your kid might want to do that.
Yeah. Or like get a game that's like, there are tons of games that are, easy enough for kids to play, but like are generally made for adults. Like if it's not too much reading, a kid can play anything.
Yeah.
And even some kids game like Chutes and Ladders, that game gets intense sometimes.
Oh yeah, it gets intense when I use it in play therapy sessions.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, y'all are competitive.
Yeah, I get stuck on the same slide over and over again. I'm like, because
it's like Candyland. It's just all chance.
Yeah.
It's all chance.
Candyland is kind of boring to me, but
it doesn't have as many opportunities to like jump around.
Yeah. 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 It needs to be higher stakes.
Yes.
But Chutes and Ladders, that's high stakes.
Yeah. It's more exciting.
Yeah. So, I would see if there are toys out there or games or whatever your kid likes to do that you would also enjoy. Because even if they're made for kids, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are boring. And I bet your kid wants you to have a good time too.
Yeah.
And I would also say, so in PCIT, you commit to 5 minutes of playing with your kid every day.
Doable.
It's totally doable,
Super
especially
doable.
if you like work it into your schedule and you say like 5 minutes of playtime before bath time
Yeah.
every day. Then it's like an expected thing for you and your kid. It's just like part of your daily routine. And 5 minutes is like long enough that you can still have fun, but short enough that you can commit to it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't always have to be, I mean, I don't want to assume, but like you don't always have to be like waiting for your kid to come and ask you to play because you have an expected time.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be enough for them. Like maybe you expand it to like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but like if you commit to every day I'm going to play with my kid for at least 5 minutes, doing something that they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
then you might get asked less often in moments when you're stressed and you aren't in the mood to play.
Right. Like if play is already a normal part of daily routine, then they're not going to ask for it super often because it's already something that they do and it's become normal.
Yeah. Or if they ask and you're really just not feeling it, you can say like, I can't right now. We have our scheduled time.
Yeah, yeah.
After dinner or whatever.
Reminding them that like, hey, we are still going to play just like later.
Yeah.
Later
exactly.
in the day or whatever.
Yeah. So that's my suggestion. Schedule it. Find some toys that you would also like. See if there's anything that's like technically made for adults, but your kid could still enjoy.
Right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes too, parents get kind of a little bit too hung up in the play needs to be educational sphere of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of like your kids playing with colored blocks and you're sitting next to them and you're asking them constantly, what color is this one? What color is that one? What color is this block? That's not really play. That's just reinforcing learning, which they probably do at their daycare, preschool, whatever situation all day long.
Yeah.
They just want to build a tower and knock it down.
Yeah.
And they want you to laugh every time.
Yeah. It's connection building. It doesn't have to be educational.
It doesn't have to be educational. And in fact, I would maybe like separate like educational play from just playing with your kid as different things.
Yeah.
Because that was something like, because I have a background in education, and that was something they really like were reminding us of, like, your kids are learning all day when they're with you as the teacher. So when they go home to their parents, like, you got to support the parents and remind them they don't need to do that. They don't need to have them recite their alphabet every day or whatever because they're at school. They're already doing that. So you could build connection through non-educational activities. It's okay. You don't have to do educational activities all the time with your kid.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Another thing I'll say is it's okay if you don't have certain things in your house because they stress you out. I have plenty of parents who don't allow slime in their house, even though that's a huge thing that every kid loves to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You can set that boundary and say, we don't have slime at our house.
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell them, like, because I know that you're going to get it in the carpet.
Right.
Like, you can just say, that's a rule that I have. We don't have slime at our house. If you have a friend that has slime at their house, you can play with it there.
You can play with it there.
Yeah. And kids generally are okay with that. Like, I have, like, a treasure box in my office, and if kids have specific goals that they meet, they can pick a prize from the treasure box. And there is a little thing of slime in there that nobody has picked because they look at it and they say, ooh, my mom's going to be mad if I pick that one.
Because I know I'm going to play with it. I'm going to get all over the furniture or all up in the carpet and you can't get it out. And it sparkles everywhere.
It has never been an argument. They just look at it and they're like, ooh, I like that slime. Sometimes they'll open it and they'll like poke at it a little bit and they'll be like, I know I'm not allowed to have that at my house. And they'll pick something different and it's not a big deal. Like their parents not even there to like tell them like, you know, you're not supposed to have that at my house. They know. So kids are easy to please.
They really are. And like, you also don't have to have like the coolest, newest toys or anything like that. Or like those like toddler or baby toys that like light up and flash and sing. I have a couple in my office, but I hide them
Mm-hmm.
for certain clients because I'm like, that I know that's going to be overstimulating for both of us.
Yes.
Right? So you don't have to have stuff like that for your kid at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I also encourage people to try to do outdoor play as much as possible too.
Yeah.
Because, man, people are not outside enough in general. But encouraging play outside when they're little is going to help them want to be outside as they get older,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of combat that, like, people not being outside anymore
Yeah.
problem we have right now.
Yeah.
Also, outside is super fun.
Yeah, and it's good, get your vitamin D,
Mm-hmm.
get some exercise,
Mhm.
like fresh air. It's all good. Get
Yeah.
away from screens. Like,
Some great, like, imaginative
Mhm.
play can come out of being outside.
yeah, you don't even need toys. They'll pick up a stick and be happy.
Sticks and rocks.
Oh my gosh, I went to a 4-year-old's birthday party like a couple weeks ago, and they just the whole time picked up sticks, threw them in the lake. That's all they did.
That
whole
sounds
time.
like so much fun.
Like they were distracted for like 20 minutes opening presents.
Mhm.
They
And then
loved
they
their
went back.
presents. They didn't play with any of the presents while they were there because the sticks were there. They don't have the stick in the lake at their house. So like,
Yeah, that sounds like me now as an adult.
yeah.
If I'm at a party and it's outside, I'm going to run away to the nearest body of water and throw stuff in it.
Yeah, that's all they wanted to do. I am curious to know if people had good toy and craft recommendations.
Yeah,
in
because
the
they did
comments.
ask for recommendations.
I know it was only posted recently.
And they also weren't super excited for the arts and crafts activity, which they didn't say what it was.
Okay, honestly though, I understand the dread that probably comes with arts and crafts, in that your kid is going to make something random and then they're going to want to hang it up on the wall. I understand, and I'm not even a parent. I understand not wanting my kid to hand me some random colorful blob and then be like, where are you going to put it? And then you can't, and then just having to like wait for the moment when they're going to forget about it and then you can hide it.
I'm the complete opposite.
Really?
So my cousin's kids, when they were like little, or like my friends' kids when they're little, if they like make something and give it to me, I'm never letting it go unless it gets lost in my house somewhere.
But is it like letting it, like keeping it is one thing, but like keeping it on the wall is another thing?
I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't really have anything on the wall right now, but like I have little like dried up Play-Doh monster things that kids have made me that I've kept, and they're like on my bookshelves and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like if a kid were to make me a drawing, I would probably hang on to it for a while. And like the little cards, kids like to make little cards. I hang on to those too.
Yeah, I mean, because I keep stuff, but it's in a box.
No, I'm like, if a client makes me something, it stays in the office and I don't hang it up. But I have a box in my office of stuff that clients make for me and I keep it. But if it's like my friend's kid makes me something, I'm like, it's on the fridge. It's on a bookshelf. It's on my walls.
Okay.
If I really like it, it's in a frame.
Yeah.
But I think that's just like a personality thing
Yeah.
too, of like, I'm also an art therapist, so like everything is art to me.
Sure. I mean, and I'm not opposed to like color in the house. Like, I'm not gonna be, if I ever am a mom, I'm not a mom that's gonna paint everything tan.
Right.
Like you can have colorful toys and
Right.
stuff. I just like the sheer volume of arts and crafts.
Yeah, there are a
popsicle
lot.
sticks and feathers. It's gonna be a lot, and
Yeah.
so I understand the hesitation if your kid is constantly
Yeah.
saying, let's do arts and crafts, to be like, oh no, I'm running out of shelf space.
Yeah, I guess it is different when you have a kid and you're taking care of them at home and it's like constant they're making stuff.
I know there are some parents who are like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
And they're not going to remember that we made this on a random
Right.
Tuesday. Like,
I mean, yeah, you could just like stash it in a box under your bed and then once a year go through it and see if you want to keep any of it or get rid of it.
yeah.
I think that's fair too. Or like have some like a rule maybe of whatever was most recently made gets to be displayed on this one spot of the fridge or the wall or whatever.
That's true.
And then when you make something new, we got to take the old one off, put the new one on. The old one goes in the box.
I like that
That might
idea.
be a good system.
I like that idea.
To combat with that.
Yeah.
I was wondering if the poster doesn't like arts and crafts because of the involved like steps and mess that comes with arts and crafts stuff.
Yeah. So what would be your response to that?
For a parent who's concerned about like the mess and like some project that has like a lot of steps, trying to limit not the access, but like the sheer volume of the arts and crafts supplies. So kid wants to do something that involves gluing stuff together to make like some kind of sculpture-esque thing. Okay, so you give them, you get 5 popsicle sticks, 3 feathers, 6 rhinestone little gem things, and 10 pipe cleaners. Make whatever you want with that. And then that way there's a limit of how much, like, their access. They're not like grabbing handfuls of glitter and throwing it on your couch. Or, squirting an entire bottle of glue on the table. You have like the set limited amounts of the stuff and you tell them this is what you have, make whatever you want, but this is all you get for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're playing with them, you give yourself the same materials.
Yes.
Same
be
amount.
Fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, be fair. And if they like want only one color pipe cleaner or whatever, that's fine. They can have 10 red pipe cleaners if that's what they want. If that's the idea in their head, they want everything red, that's fine. But it's like that set amount. And then they can make whatever they want with that set amount.
Yeah. And go the extra mile if you're going to do that. Put the rest of the supplies away.
Where they can't see them.
Yes.
Away.
Before you start the craft. You say, you pick what you get. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trading. Because if they can see the box, they will fight you on it.
Yep. And then they'll eventually get into it somehow. And now you've got, there's a whole bag of rhinestone glitter all over the table and everything's a mess.
Yeah. And I don't think I would do this all the time, but there are plenty of like kits that you can buy.
Yeah.
That only have what you need for that specific craft. So you could try that also.
Yeah. I mean, basically you're just making the art and craft kit for your kid for that, whatever they want to make.
Yeah.
Thinking of it that way of like, here's your kit.
Yeah. I just don't want to. I feel like if you only did like the store-bought kits, then you're kind of limiting their creativity because you're like, well, you have to follow the directions. Yeah. And like, that's not as fun for kids.
No,
if they have to do the rules every time.
And I mean, I like those like little artsy like kit things where you make friendship bracelets or whatever. Those are fun too. But I agree, like sometimes the kid just wants paper and crayons and they get paper and crayons. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they want. That's totally fine too. They don't have to do something that has directions or has an end product either.
Yep.
They can just play with, I don't know, like play with Play-Doh is often enough for a lot of kids.
Yep. And kids do not question choices the majority of the time. If they say they want to do arts and crafts and you say, okay, do you want crayons or do you want paint? They're okay just picking one. They're not, like 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be like, I want both. Like,
right, yeah.
They're
okay to pick one.
Yeah. And if you're not in a paint mood,
don't offer
it.
Yep.
Do you want colored pencils or crayons?
Yep. I keep all my art supplies locked up and only pull out specific ones for specific sessions of like, here's your choices. This is what we're doing.
Yep. Yeah, I'm totally fine. Like, I don't have mine locked up. They're just on the shelf where everybody can see them. But like, if a kid comes in and they say they want to paint, I offer them watercolor or non-watercolor. And then whatever they pick, that's the only one they get because I don't want them mixing.
Right.
So, and I've never been fought on it.
Yeah, kids are typically if you give them a choice, even if it's just between two things, they're happy enough being able to choose between those two things that they will be fine with just that thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have a Instagram, TikTok, I think she's on YouTube as well, account. She's called May Storybook Library. MAI Storybook Library. All one word. And I think she's a librarian, but she gives recommendations for children's books on like every topic under the sun.
Cool.
So there's like books for kids about gender identity. There's books for kids about differences in cultures. There's books for kids that are facing different, like, we're moving, or my friend is moving away, or my parents are getting divorced, or whatever. It's got so much on there. Like, my Amazon wish list is just full because every time I see a video of her, I copy the list and put it on my Amazon. I think she has an Amazon like link as well, so you can see like cool. her recommendations just on Amazon.
Yeah.
But it's awesome, and they're all, sometimes it's mostly like picture books, but every once in a while she'll throw in like a book for like tweens, so like a chapter book,
like a 10 to 12-year-old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's every once in a while there's some chapter books in there, but for the most part it's picture books that you can read with your kids. They have all sorts of, like, there was a whole post about if your kid is neurodivergent and like reading about what it's like to be a kid with ADHD or autism, and like how to identify your feelings, and like it's everything. That's anything you really could need for your kid, like any kind of topic that you're like, I don't really know how to talk to my kid about this. She has a recommendation, or like 5. So
that's so cool.
Highly recommend looking at her TikToks or Instagram reels or whatever. May Storybook Library.
That's awesome. Yes. Love libraries. Oh my gosh. Libraries. Yes. You guys do so much work.
Yes.
Okay. So my recommendation is it's an account that I discovered through TikTok. But she also has an Instagram. And it's called Redwood Center for Children. She's a play therapist, based in California. But she has this really cool series on TikTok called How a Kid Might Play It. And she kind of like acts out how a kid might play in a play therapy session, and then cuts to how she talks to parents about that and how a kid might play whatever issue is coming up.
Ooh.
It's really interesting. And like, I saw it pop up because I was looking for play therapy ideas. But it's really cool for therapists and for people who just want to know like what play therapy is, because she like talks about like if the kid's playing like this, she gives a little like skit example, and then she breaks it down and talks about like what that kid currently might be processing, or maybe the kid is struggling to process something, and so it's coming out in their play. And so it's just a really good series of videos that break down how play therapy kind of works and what it looks like, because it's really hard to describe it to people.
It is, and I have so many parents who come in and they ask me questions at the intake like, well, how is you playing Uno with my kid helping them?
Right.
And it's I mean, like, I get it, but it's kind of hard to explain because it's kind of just like, well, I'm looking for things.
Right.
So
yeah. I'm watching while playing with your kid. Yeah. But it's also hard to explain how that whole process works. But yeah, her videos are great in explaining that. And so I've really enjoyed watching her videos. And then she also has cute little videos of like, that are helpful for me as a therapist, of like, here's where I found all my miniatures for sand tray therapy.
Yes. I'm following her today.
Yeah. Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
And I don't follow her on Instagram yet because I just learned that she has an Instagram today, but I follow her on TikTok, and she posts pretty frequently, and it's really good stuff. And she also has a series about, I think she just started it. It's how to become a play therapist. So she like breaks down all the certifications needed and stuff. And I think that is helpful for therapists and for parents, because she kind of is explaining the whole process of becoming a play therapist and what's involved, which also helps explain play therapy to parents.
Yes.
Of like, I'm not just randomly asking your kid to play a game or just randomly playing whatever with them. Like, it's intentional and there's purpose behind it. And she just explains it all really, really well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It's Redwood Center for Children is the username for TikTok and Instagram. And then she does her own practice, group practice, but it's based in California.
Yeah. Well, I know how I will be procrastinating today.
Oh yeah, they're fun.
Watching her, because
she's also very silly, so her acting and the little skits and stuff is entertaining too.
Cool. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for listening. Please subscribe to our podcast, YouTube channel, whatever you are listening or watching this on. If you're seeing a clip on TikTok, I don't know why this would be included in the clip on TikTok, but
it's probably a mistake if it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, give us a follow. Share us with your friends and family. If you have any ideas of topics that we could talk about in the future, things that you are interested in picking the brains of therapists about, please let us know. And if you are watching us on YouTube, please give us a recommendation for a toy that kids and parents might enjoy playing with.
Ooh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be appreciated.
Yeah. I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
My recommendation is Exploding Kittens.
I love that game.
It's a really fun game, and as long as you can remember colors, like I played it with a kid as young as 8, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's a fun game. So
that is a fun game. It's a very silly game.
It's very silly. So that's my bonus recommendation. Exploding Kittens. But yes, give us some more recommendations for toys, games, art things that any age can appreciate. And other than that, we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye.